I'm Alice Morrison, an adventurer and writer. I've cycled across Africa and run across the Sahara. Now, I'm on the trail of a mysterious and forgotten Arabian civilization, the Nabataeans.
Are we standing in the birthplace of written Arabic?
I think I would say that, yes.
They were nomads who forged a rich civilization here in the harsh desert conditions of Western Arabia from the 4th century BCE. They ruled for around 3 centuries until they were swallowed up by the Roman Empire. Now all that's left are the enigmatic remains of their great desert cities of Petra and Hegra in modern-day Jordan and Saudi Arabia. And this is where I have come to explore, to find out how they survived and thrived here, who they were, and even what they looked like. I want to search for clues about their world. I'll investigate their ancient sites, delving deep into their secret tombs and sanctuaries.
Oh my goodness! Indiana Jones, eat your hearts out. Wait till you see this.
I'm tracking down the leading experts doing new research who'll help me build up a picture of the Nabataeans.
They did not use slave. It's a respectful job.
The secret Nabateans possessed is the knowledge of the great deserts around them.
And I'm going to meet the people who are living here now to try and understand what life was like then in this remarkable landscape.
This is what enabled the Nabateans to trade, and they're beautiful.
Join me as I uncover the secrets of the Nabataeans. I started my journey in Petra, in modern-day Jordan, learning about how the death-obsessed Nabataeans forged a sophisticated civilization by taking control of the lucrative incense trade route.
This is so impressive.
Now I'm in northwest Saudi Arabia, on my way to Hegra, to go further into their world. This is where, as the Nabataeans' power grew, they established a second great city. Unlike the close rocky valleys of Petra, Hegra has a much more open, expansive feel. But just like at the capital, most of what they left behind are tombs. However, what makes this place especially important is its new discoveries. Archaeologists from all over the world have been exploring the site for a couple of decades, but it's only been open to members of the public since 2019. And right now, it feels like I'm the only person here.
I mean, just look at this. I've walked in through this desert landscape with its bubbling mountains all around, and then it's like, wham, boom, this incredible tomb. The impact is terrific. It's monumental, it's massive, it's immense. You run out of adjectives. And it's just here on its own, Qasr al-Farid, the lonely castle. Can you imagine if you were a Nabatean trader and you'd come up from the south and you'd cross the desert and you were hungry and you were thirsty, and then, with no reference whatsoever, with no internet, with no photographs, with no paintings, with nothing, you suddenly come across this in the middle of the desert. You must have felt that it came from something larger, something bigger, something divine.
In the shadow of this towering monument, I'm meeting Wadad Yassin, a new generation of local Saudi guide. At 22 meters tall, this is the largest tomb in Hegra. But what clues does it give us about the people who built it?
Okay, so here we are. Tell me about Qasr al-Farid.
Lahyan son of Koza, who owned this tomb. He chose this spot. And then they had a very skillful stonemasons. They did not use slave. It's a respectful job.
Oh.
We knew that their names were mentioned at the end of each text, the legal document on the tomb facade. We have families that might be worked as stonemasons for generations.
So you're saying that we know this is the grave of...
Lahyan, son of Koza. Yeah.
Do we know anything about him?
The thing that is mystery about the tomb of Lahyan is inside is empty. There are no burials. And they believe that his tomb was not used. What happened to Lahyan? Was he run out of money and he could not afford to finish? Was he died or killed outside the border of Hegra? These are all possibilities that people can imagine.
How did they build this?
The carving process usually starts from top to the bottom, which is very surprising for many people, knowing that they have to climb way up there and then going down.
Because this tomb was never finished, it tells us about how the monuments were made. That immaculately clean-cut appearance of the facade was achieved through deliberate stages.
What you can see here, this is the first stage, and then you can see the second stage, and then you have the third and the fourth.
Oh, yes.
Okay, and then the stonemason have to chisel it down until then we have the final stage, which is the more smooth facade.
It's really clear here. So clear.
Yeah.
This tomb is one of the great treasures of Hegra, not least because it tells us something about the people who built it. I want to find out more about the structure of Nabatean society. And to do that, I've arranged to meet academic Dr. Suleiman Athib. He's a leading expert on one of the other things that makes this such an important site, revealing evidence left here by the Nabateans in the form of the written word.
Let's go to show you one of the famous ladies in Nabatean society. Her name is Kamkam Burtuwaila.
And is this her tomb here?
Yeah, that's her tomb, yes. Yeah. She built this grave for her and for her daughter as well. This is a very famous inscription related to the Nabatean period. The amazing thing is that she didn't say she is a daughter of her father. She said that she's a daughter of her mother.
So what can we learn about women in Nabatean society? A woman wrote the inscription, she built the tomb for herself and her daughters. What does that tell us?
As a matter of fact, the women at that time, they were free in trade, and they were working in high positions and religious positions. So they were really involved in Nabatean society at that time, yeah.
Do we know if the women were involved in trade? Were they merchants?
Yes,
did they buy? Did they sell? What did they do?
Yeah, I think they trade the same as men. And we have a very good example. It's Kamkam. I think she's a rich lady, and she has a lot of money, and therefore she was able to build her grave here. Yeah.
So, is it too much to say that the Nabateans were feminists?
I think it's too much, yeah, but we could say that this lady led the women in the society, in Nabataean society, to be free and to take a very important role in their life.
This is a very, very clear inscription. This language, is it a forerunner of Arabic?
As a matter of fact, classical Arabic script derived from the Nabatean script itself.
So are we standing in the birthplace of written Arabic?
Yes, I think I would say that, yes.
For an Arabic scholar, I studied Arabic for a long time. Learning that I'm actually standing in the birthplace of the script is
I think so, yeah.
It's thrilling, it's very exciting. I'm a script nerd.
The hundreds of unique inscriptions at Hegra are just one draw for academics who come here from all around the world, looking for answers about this mysterious people. French archaeologist Katja Scherler is trying to uncover the lost residential area of Hegra in an ambitious attempt to map the ancient city.
This place has the best view of the entire city, but it's also overlooking the trade routes, right? From here, you would have seen the caravans full of spices and frankincense, but you also had a very good view of the Jebel Itlib. This is where all the religious activities are happening. And you can see here too, like the deep relationship between the city and the oasis. So the city is strategically set right here because you would have had the wadi flowing, the riding near the water.
Yeah.
And that's where we know that the earliest occupation would have been, and the closest knit residential units would have been around this part of the city.
As with Petra in the north, a deep understanding of the geography of the desert was one of the elements that allowed the Nabateans to thrive here. But over the millennia, the shifting sands have devoured their city. Katja has been working with innovative Canadian geophysicist Jan Franke to develop a new approach that may shed light on what lies beneath.
So Jan, what are we doing here? Tell me all about this.
This is a ground-penetrating radar system, and the idea here is that we're moving this back and forth over the ground in very close space lines.
So if you were a human, would this be like we're doing a full body scan?
Essentially, much like an X-ray, to look at the whole site and find specific areas where they'd be interested in.
Katja, what are you hoping to find out from this site?
Right, so obviously we can't excavate the whole city, so it's much better to document it and then ask a very fine question, which is, how did the city develop? We know the Nabateans came here in the mid-1st century BC. Now, when they came, did they do an urban plan that was what we call the hypodamian system, which is when you already lay out the cities in a very grid-like system? Did it develop in a much more organic way? I mean, this is like the two sides of the debate.
And what kind of area here are you looking at?
Eventually, when this program really kicks off, we're going to be doing the entire city of Hegra. So that involves walking about 2,000 kilometers, which is the distance from here to Athens.
You know I want to have a go.
Absolutely. I know I want you to have a go because I'm tired.
Okay.
By all means. So much like a lawnmower, I just want you to push it at whatever pace you want to go, just like mowing a lawn.
And just dead straight if I can. It's quite
Absolutely.
bumpy.
Now, of course, it's very bumpy. Do what you can to keep it straight. So now we're collecting data, and what we're doing is essentially like taking a knife and cutting through the ground and seeing everything that's there.
This manual unit is much less damaging than using a heavy vehicle, and the radar can collect more detailed data than air surveys. The painstaking legwork is the unglamorous side of archaeology, but it's all worth it if you find something.
So as we go down deeper, we're going down through time. So it's like peeling back layers of the past. What's really interesting is as I go down deeper and deeper, can you start seeing that there's some linear features there that start popping out?
Yes, I can.
Right. So when we look at straight lines like that, that doesn't happen naturally in nature. Those are man-made features. And then as we go down deeper, you'll see another square start turning up around here, right? So is that a previous generation civilization? Katja, what do you make of this?
We have two different buildings at two different depths. So that is very exciting. I mean, do we have two different phases, two different timelines of the city? That's very exciting.
So did we basically hit gold as we lawn mowed?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
we did.
Unlike the grand rock-cut tombs built for the rich, these foundations could be a single-story, flat-roofed home of a regular Nabatean. It's been assumed that the tombs were built to face the city of the living, but I've heard of research just about to be published that may turn this idea on its head. I'm using a wonder of the modern age to talk to Juan Antonio Belmonte, a world leader in the science of archaeoastronomy, currently hard at work elsewhere on the planet.
Juan, hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm standing in Tomb 21 in Hegra.
Actually, you are now in the tomb which is orientated to equinox sunset on the one side, but most important, it belongs to a group of tombs that are orientated to the first crescent of the month of Nisan, which was the first month of the Nabataean calendar.
Ah, so it must be deliberate.
It must be deliberate.
We knew that the Nabateans are fantastic builders and architects.
Yes.
So they must have also been good astronomers.
They should have been. I mean, for generations, the Arabs had been marvelous astronomers. I mean, to cross the deserts of Arabia to the coast of the Mediterranean to bring the incense, you need to travel basically by night. And the best way to orientate by night is by the stars. So they were excellent astronomers, I'm sure of that. One important thing is that before we have thought that tombs in Hegra had been orientated, mostly looking at the center of the city. What we have found is that there is actually a combination between land and skyscape.
So they chose the location of their tombs in part because of the skyscape.
This is what we believe. Actually, in front of the gate of the tomb where you are, there is an inscription where the month of Nisan is mentioned. And there are a lot of tombs at the necropolis with such an inscription.
Okay, so I'm just going to move outside and look at the facade. Here it is.
If you walk a little bit more, that is perfect. You are looking at the facade of tomb 21. It has a peculiar decoration with 2 yards over the pediment and then 1 eagle.
Yeah.
This eagle is possibly associated in the sun called Dushara. Dushara was born in the winter solstice, but he was conceived at the spring equinox. And then you have the astronomical alignment. So there is a whole connection in which the bodies of the dead were in some way connected to immortality and to the sky.
Oh, that's so fascinating. Thank you. It's extraordinary, really, talking to one of the world's top astroarchaeologists about a civilization that's 2,000 years old, standing outside a tomb using satellite technology to find out that they didn't orient towards the city and, you know, the temporal life. Actually, they were building for their spiritual life. They were joining themselves to the sky for eternity.
I keep getting closer to what made these ancient people tick. And my final stop promises to be as up close as it gets. I'm meeting the Royal Commission for AlUla's head of collections, Jonathan Wilson, who said he can finally bring me face to face with an actual Nabataean.
So these came out of Tomb 117, which is significant because it is our largest collection of Nabatean remains. They vary in age and sex, so men and women are both represented, adults, children.
So these are actual Nabataean skulls?
These are actual Nabataean skulls.
By studying these bones, Jonathan and his colleagues have pieced together what a Nabataean may have looked like.
This skull went away for CT scanning, and then this is a 3D print of the skull. And these pegs are to give the depth of your skin.
Your skin would go right up to the top of these pegs?
Yes.
With almost no Nabataean images to refer to, the team have had to infer what they might have worn from other artifacts, such as these coins.
So if you want to hold your hand out, you can have this in your hand. This is Queen Huldu, who was the wife of Aratus IV. And if you can see her headdress.
It's very clear. It's kind of straight down like that. And she has a beautiful aquiline profile.
Yes. Moving on from Queen Huldu, we have our next queen, and this one is slightly different.
Oh, there's 2 people on the coin.
There's 2 people on there, showing that the queens and the kings appear to have equal status in their society. But the last coin I have for you is this one. So again, this is a double profile coin, but this is the daughter now, who is now reigning in the place of her mother. So the line of succession has passed through the mother's line.
Goodness me. This is quite a thrill, you know. We've been looking at these massive tombs, which are awe-inspiring, and the landscape is breathtaking. But these tiny, tiny coins that we've had to use the magnifying glass to see have taught us so much about the position of women, the trade routes, and it's that feeling of just having history in your hand.
And it's a beautiful coin, too.
It is a beautiful coin. It's so clear.
From these puzzle pieces, they've seemingly done the impossible. Conjured up what a Nabataean may have looked like. This is Hegra.
It's like something out of a detective series on TV, isn't it? Like remaking a face from a skull. How accurate do you think this could be?
So they took the skull, and then they built up the layers for the soft tissue, and then things like the skin pigmentation, the hair, the eye colours. It's as accurate as we can make it.
Do we know anything about what she would have eaten, what her health was like?
There's certain things we can tell from her health, particularly in the kind of jawbone and the teeth. We can see a lot of grinding down of molars missing.
I mean, she's a beautiful woman. You can see an expression in her eyes and her face. And I think it gives you that connection with the Nabateans. It's quite hard to find because, you know, they didn't leave much to help us. And yet you've managed to reconstruct this whole, what feels like living woman with a soul and a story. So I find it very moving.
Heina is as close as I can get to an actual Nabataean. So for now, this is the end of my journey. It's been a true voyage of discovery through the Nabataean world, from their great capital of Petra to here at their second city in the Hegra, finding out who they were, what they believed, and how their civilization was run. And I've been impressed by what I've discovered about them. We may be 2,000 years apart, but I think I would have liked the Nabataeans. They seem to have been very resourceful people. They built a sophisticated society in the middle of the desert sands. One of the things that surprised me about the Nabataeans is the prominent role of women. They held some of the most important positions in society: priestesses, traders, and in fact, the most important role in society, which is as queens. The crown passed from mother to daughter. I found that amazing. It's an intoxicating era of discovery, with experts from so many disciplines coming together to try and understand this remarkable culture. One of the great things about coming to Hegra is this was a centre of trade. And now there's a completely different kind of trade going on. It's a knowledge trade. There are experts here from all over the world, all coming to this place to learn more about the civilization, which in turn rounds up our knowledge of where we all are in the world. I can't wait to see what Nabataean secrets are uncovered next.